some breaking news for those who are unfamiliar and just joining us. We have a statement from the Bernie Sanders campaign from senior advisor Jeff Weaver. It says, during a campaign event yesterday, Senator Sanders experienced some chest discomfort. Following medical evaluation and testing, he was found to have a blockage in one artery and 2 stents were successfully inserted. Senator Sanders is conversing and in good spirits. He'll be resting up over the next few days. And the campaign says that they will be canceling his events and appearances until further notice. We also just received word that his campaign is canceling at least some of an advertised ad buy in the state of Iowa to the tune of, I think, about $400,000.
That's right. And in addition to some of the background here, during his 2016 presidential campaign, Sanders did release a letter from his doctor saying that he was in good health and didn't have a history of health disease. Right. He also was asked recently about releasing all of his public medical records. He said he would do that certainly before voting began. We're also at this time getting some updates out of members of the campaign, some tweets and some well wishes from actual staff members on the Sanders campaign. David Sirota, a senior advisor in particular, said, "I've known Bernie Sanders for 20 plus years. He is the hardest working human being I've ever known. He never stops fighting for the 99%. He's a true warrior, and we are all glad he is doing okay. Send good vibes to him today." Of course, Senator Sanders has always been noted for keeping a very aggressive campaign schedule, something that I've witnessed firsthand.
Absolutely.
We also had a retweet from Faz, who's the campaign manager for Sanders. He just retweeted a Sanders supporter who said, "Bernie, you can have my heart." For more on the medical implications, based on what we know at this point, we have joining us Gary McKenzie. He's a retired interventional cardiologist, someone who knows a lot about this particular procedure. Gary, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure, and I'm so happy to hear Bernie's doing well.
Yeah, so tell us, just based on that campaign statement, they found a blockage, they inserted a stent, they say he's doing well. What does that tell you as a former doctor?
Well, I think the key thing was that he had the warning symptoms and he recognized the importance of them and sought medical attention quickly. That's so often not the case, but this was great to hear, and the fact that the procedure was uneventful and he's recovering in a normal fashion, this is great news.
So, Gary, in your experience, somebody who's a 78-year-old patient who were to undergo a procedure like this, what does the recovery time look like in order to get back on one's feet?
Well, the majority of people, and this is the great news with the modern stents and technology we use today, is that many people are home with cardiac injury, but given Bernie's penchant for hard work and, of course, the importance of him having a good recovery, I'm sure they'll be advising him to be a little more cautious. But I've had patients on the golf course the same day against my advice. But so Bernie might be one of those kind of people.
Indeed. So just tell us a little bit of the details, like what's involved in this procedure for people who don't know.
Well, it's done what we call percutaneously. In the past, it was almost always done through the femoral artery, the artery in the groin, through a needle puncture. But nowadays, we are also using the radial approach, the artery at the wrist. So there's no incisions. It's done percutaneously, often very quickly, can be done in as short as half an hour. And 2 stents, the new stents and the ease of applying them are so much better than they were when we first started to implant stents back in the early 90s. So, no, it's a routine and sadly too common a procedure these days, since cardiovascular problems affect about 45% of us.
I think that's important.
Gary, are there any lifestyle changes that you would generally recommend, to patients that undergo stuff like this?
Don't run for president. No, I think that's the ultimate stress test. But no, I think Bernie always appeared to me, and I don't know him personally, as a very fit, active fellow. And he'll obviously be paying a little bit more attention to his diet on the road and more sleep, hopefully, and so forth. But he should be able to resume, if his cardiac function is normal, which I predict it'll be, fairly normal, active lifestyle. And I think, frankly, that it doesn't preclude him from doing what he wants to do.
Yeah. And how much is stress a factor in this?
I'm sorry, did you say risk factor?
How much is stress? Yeah, a risk factor.
Oh, stress a risk factor? Good question. I think stress can cause issues with sleep deprivation. It can obviously to go to poorer choices in terms of our dietary intake. It will take away some of the time we spend doing things like physical activity, all those things that reduce our cardiovascular risk. The acute stress has been known to lead to, a sudden rapid rise in blood pressure, and that can cause stress on an artery, leading to a plaque rupture with or without a heart attack. It can be just a warning that there's a severe blockage. Mm-hmm. So there's no doubt that the pace that Bernie or anyone, he doesn't have to be in his 70s, he could be 45, is a factor.
Mm-hmm. Gary, would you characterize this as a relatively routine procedure and occurrence for somebody of Bernie's age and fitness?
Yes, I do. And I think routine's not too strong a word. I think it is commonplace. Every day today, and in every city in the U.S., there are Bernies having this done.
Mm-hmm. Right. And looking forward, what will sort of be the ongoing medical care regimen for someone like Senator Sanders at his age and with his level of, high stress and high profile position?
That's going to be a personal decision for him. We all have to make decisions based on what our physician may recommend. Clearly, I think it should be obvious to anyone, Bernie's going to obviously have to take, is this campaign worth it in the short term or not? But if he wants to do it as a physician, I wouldn't say, if there's no complications of the stents, they're well deployed. He takes measures to prevent any clotting of the stents. These are just two medications, aspirin being one of them, and a number of other agents to prevent blood clotting. Then I think, he could just carry right on just as he's doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Great to have your expertise. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And just for those who may be just joining us, update here, Senator Sanders has been hospitalized. We have a statement from the campaign that he was experiencing chest discomfort following medical evaluation. He was found to have a blockage in one artery. 2 stents successfully inserted Senator Sanders conversing and in good spirits. His last public appearance was at the Las Vegas shooting memorial on Tuesday night. Of course, he's kept a very vigorous schedule, and we are all thinking about him and hoping for his quick recovery. Thanks so much.